Black Ops 6 just had a massive weapon update, completely changing the meta, so I have for you the updated top 5 meta builds that you should be using right now. With the first weapon being an honorable mention, we got the Model L, the most broken gun in the entire game. You can 3-shot across the map with absolutely no recoil. Just make sure you get some headshots in there. They did nerf this thing, but you're not going to notice the nerf whatsoever, especially with this build. So as you guys can see, we do have the STG-44 iron sights. When you do hit Prestige 1 level 50, I believe you unlock the STG blueprint, which just makes the weapon look so much cleaner. Overall though, it is a pretty bouncy gun, so we have the compensator to eliminate a lot of that. One thing that the compensator gives us is a lot of recoil gun kick control. That's going to make the iron sights actually usable, and that's more important than horizontal and vertical recoil control. Next up, for the underbarrel, we are going to be using the vertical grip. This is going to give us a 40% increase for the horizontal. The muzzle's taking care of the vertical. This will take care of the horizontal. Next up, we got the extended mag 1, although feel free to run whichever one you want, or if you don't find too much value out of the extended mag, that's a very good thing. You could take that off, then go over here and add a barrel. The reason we don't have a barrel is that the biggest or the farthest gunfight you'll typically get in on multiplayer is about 45 meters. The base amount of damage range that we have is 40 meters, and so I don't really find a barrel being that important on this gun. Then for the rear grip, we got the ergonomic grip. This is going to allow you to increase your slide to fire speed. A lot of the time I will be sliding and I can't fire the gun in a very long time because the slide to fire is 370 milliseconds, which is insane. So we're going to add the ergonomic, lowering that to 185. I usually like to keep the ADS speed, the sprint to fire speed, and the slide to fire speed all around the same, so everything's very consistent. Although the quick draw grip is very good if you don't really move around the map that much. And then lastly, we are going to be adding the rapid fire. This is hurting the overall damage range. The bullet velocity, it really does, negatively impact the weapon, but the positives outweigh those negatives because it increases the fire rate so much, allowing you to really rip the enemies off every head. I can't speak at all. Here's the best class. I absolutely love this thing, and as per usual, I will be giving you guys an 8 attachment build as well. So quickly, we're going to add the reinforced barrel so we get the best of bullet velocity and an increase of our damage range. For the optic, I really like the Kepler or the AccuSpot reflex. Then for the stock, we are going to be adding the balanced stock. This is going to allow you to have a very fast aim walking speed and strafing speed. For the SMGs, I usually focus on the light stock, but for the ARs, this one is a little bit better, although the heavy stock, very underrated, adds a lot of flinch resistance. So if the enemy does get first shot on you, your screen isn't going to really shake that much, making it very easy to stay on target. And so the heavy is definitely a very good option. And if you guys want another screenshot, there you guys go. Obviously, if you want to be off the radar, swap out the compensator for the suppressor. For the next weapon that we are going to be going over, this is going to be the XM4. A lot of people don't like the XM4, but the XM4 is insanely good, so good that the pros banned it from competitive, and so definitely take advantage of the XM4. Since the iron sights are pretty weird, I don't like them whatsoever. We are going to be adding the Kepler micro flex, but feel free to take this off and then you'll have a free attachment for something else. For the muzzle, we are going to be rocking the suppressor. There's not that much recoil on this gun. Given when you first try this class, there will be a little bit of recoil, but once you're used to it, then it's going to be super easy to use, and you guys are going to see the power behind the weapon. It just takes about 3 to 5 games to really dial in the recoil control on the gun. If you still can't control it, then I would use the compensator. This is going to be the next best option since we get a lot of gun kick control and vertical recoil control. For the next attachment, we are going to be adding the long barrel. The reason I have this is that the effective damage range on this gun is absolutely horrible to where I'm trying to maximize it. The bullet velocity isn't that good. It's 750 meters per second. I mean meters per second. So it might feel off at certain times, but overall the damage range is going to help you out a lot compared to if we were using the reinforced or the gain twist barrel. For the next attachment, we are going to be adding a extended mag. Again, you can take this off, then you have a free attachment. Maybe you want to add the vertical foregrip, giving you a lot of recoil control, or if you want to feel a little bit lighter but you still want that recoil control, you can add the Ranger foregrip. For me, I get more value out of having a bigger magazine. Then again, for the rear grip, for the same reasons as before, we are going to be running the ergonomic grip. Some of the guns I will run the quick draw grip, but if the ADS speed's already decently fast, I'm always going to be using the ergonomic grip. Here's a screenshot of my favorite 5 attachment XM4. For the 8 attachment, we're going to be going over here adding the Ranger foregrip because there's not that much recoil on the weapon. For the stock, we are going to be adding the balanced stock, although the heavy stock is still a very good option. The balanced stock is going to allow you to strafe faster, making it easier to activate that rotational aim assist, and it makes you a harder target hit. Plus, it increases the movement speed, which keep in mind, the movement speed increase that we get is only for your walking. I really like to increase sprinting because that's when you sprint. We're all sprinting always on the game. And then for the fire mods, since we're not getting that much bullet velocity from the long barrel, we are going to be adding the rapid fire. I mean, not the rapid fire, the overpressured rounds. This is going to increase that bullet velocity by 20%, bring it up to 900. And so now the damage range is still horrible, not as bad. Maximized it, and we're maximizing that bullet velocity. The rapid fire is good, but your bullet velocity is going to be pretty slow to where you have to run the reinforced barrel. You cannot run an AR that has a 675 bullet velocity. That's absolutely atrocious. All that said, though, there is the screenshot for the best 8 attachment XM4. I apologize for me, adding and removing the face cam constantly. Next up, this is going to be the JACKAL PDW. This is going to be the rank play meta, so I would definitely get used to the JACKAL when you can, because it is the best SMG in the game. It's kind of like a mini AR, not as much as the Tanto, but it still is a very good one. So for the muzzle, again, we do have the compensator giving us the most amount of recoil control, making the iron sights actually usable because we get a 21% increase for that recoil gun kick. Again, if you want to be off the radar, feel free to run the suppressor. Keep in mind though, the gun might be a little bit bouncy. For the barrel, you guys got two different options. If I'm on a very tiny map like Face Off, I'll usually actually run the CHF barrel because it brings our headshot damage from 32 up to 34. Our player health is 100 divided by 34, that's going to be like 2.9. So you're going to be able to get a 3-shot kill with the CHF. Just keep in mind the gun will be very bouncy, so that's why I only use it on the smaller maps. If I'm trying to have a more well-rounded build, I'm going to use the reinforced because the bullet velocity isn't that good. We need to increase the bullet velocity to at least 600. 700 would be nicer. And then we also do get a little bit of damage range, making our bullets a little bit stronger. Next up, since the gun is bouncy, we are going to be using the best underbarrel for recoil control. That is going to be the vertical foregrip, giving us about 40% increase to, 30% increase, and then a 3% increase for that recoil gun kick. Then for the next attachment, this actually, you might want to run a magazine. If I am going to run a magazine, I'll take off the balance stock for the magazine. This is just like what I'm typically going to be using in ranked play, and so that's why I'm getting very used to it and just the overall statistically best one. For the rear grip though, we are again going to be using the ergonomic grip, increasing that slide to fire speed, the dive to fire speed, and the ADS speed. For some reason, this game gives us a lot of details, but not enough details. We don't know how fast we're strafing. We know how fast our aim walking movement speed is, but that only applies to, ADS walking forward and backwards, not left to right. And then it also doesn't give us the value of our dive to fire speed. And so it seems like they're lacking a few very important stats. For the stock, if you don't really care about the magazine, we are going to be using the balance stock, increasing that aim walking movement speed, your strafing speed, your hip fire movement speed, and your movement speed. This is actually going to be very important in ranked play because a lot of the time, you're not going to be playing super aggressive. You're going to be letting the enemies push you, or in search and destroy, you're going to be ADS walking a lot. So it's very nice to be able to do that. The no stock is pretty good for pubs because you're not going to really be walking around like this as much, but in rank play you really are. So the balance stock allows you to walk around a little bit faster as well as strafe faster. You guys want my favorite JACKAL build? Here's a screenshot given. It's really nice to have the extended mag on there. Now for the 8 attachment, keep in mind if you want to run 8 attachments, you have to have the gunfighter wildcard. I'm mind blown how many people don't realize that. So when you do run the 8 attachments, you can get the best of both worlds of having that balance stock or the no stock if you just want to strafe very fast. For me, I like the balance stock with the extended mag. We're not going to be adding a laser. For the fire mods, I actually like to increase the bullet velocity or add the recoil springs. The rapid fire is good. It's just, it hurts the range, and the bullet velocity, like the lower the bullet velocity you have, the worse hit registration you're going to have. And so it's just going to feel like you're on that very, very bad ping to where it just doesn't feel as good. But you will be able to eliminate the enemies 6% faster. So that can be very beneficial. Or yeah, 6%. So that could be very beneficial. For me though, I really like to increase that bullet velocity, improving the overall hit to registration on the game. And then for the optic, I like the Kepler or the Accu Spot. I'm going to add an optic on here, which I just really don't like optics on my SMGs. But for the screenshot, there you guys go with the best JACKAL 8 attachment build. If you do find this helpful and you want more gun guides, this whole channel is about gunning guides, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notified whenever I release the best gun guides, hit the noties on there too, and a like is very appreciated. So this next gun is going to be the AEK 973, the most broken gun. I know I said the Model L is broken. The Model L is a little bit easier to use, but this thing can literally one burst up to about like 40 meters, and so it's like the M8 from Black Ops 2. I hope we get a blueprint that turns it into the M8 because a lot of the blueprints in this game turn our guns into other guns. Like when you hit Prestige 8, I believe it turns the JACKAL into the VMP, but it's kind of like the VMP from Temu. But that would be super sick for this gun since it is insanely broken. but you have to run the rapid fire. The rapid fire is going to increase the rate of fire by about 78%, so that burst delay is going to be a 78% shorter. And so if you miss that first burst or it doesn't kill the enemy, you're going to be able to kill them, you know, way faster. It's way more forgiving. It is crucial to run the rapid fire on this gun. We are losing a lot of our damage range though, but the effective damage range is 37. That's pretty good. Remember, the biggest gunfight you'll be in is probably 45 meters, but we are going to be adding the reinforced barrel, which I guess increases that to 37. Without the reinforced barrel, it's going to be 30 meters, and so I guess that's why I added the reinforced. So then we have somewhat some bullet velocity and a little bit more damage range. And one thing I really like is that the bullet velocity with the reinforced is like almost 1,000, and so you're gonna have hit scan up to about like 40 meters. So the second you pull the trigger, the enemy is like the bullet will hit the enemy. You don't have to wait for any bullet travel. And yeah, so next attachment for the muzzle brake exclusive Ace was saying that this is actually going to be the best for the burst fire weapons, given it might be a little bit different when we add some other attachments. But when I was testing this, I noticed the muzzle brake was really helping a lot. This is going to increase that first shot recoil control, and it's going to reset the sights after every shot. Just since we have the burst, it really does help to reset that and just make sure all three of the shots that we're firing are very clustered up, making it more likely that we are going to get that one burst kill on the enemy. The iron sights really are bad, but again, you could take that off to add a magazine, underbarrel, stock, whatever you want. For me, I'm going to be using the Kepler Micro Flex, and then again, we have the ergonomic grip. One thing about this gun is that the ADS speed really isn't that good, so sometimes I still do find myself using the quick draw grip since I'm not really playing that aggressive with a burst weapon. A lot of time I let the enemies push me, and so in that case, the quick draw grip is a very good option, but overall, I do prefer the ergonomic. Here's a screenshot of my favorite AAK 973 build. Now, for the gunfighter build, we are going to be going over to the underbarrel. I don't really think there's that much recoil in the weapon, and the weapon does feel a little bit heavy, so I'm going to be using the Ranger foregrip. But if you're at long range and you find yourself missing shots, add the vertical. It's going to make it so you really miss 0 shots. It's actually insane how accurate the gun can get. And then when you run the vertical, it actually allows you to run a suppressor. You don't really have to run the muzzle brake. But for me, I'm going to be adding now a extended mag. It really depends on the map that you're on. On Nuketown, a lot of time I'll run the extended mag too, even though there's a lot of cons. It just makes it fun that I don't really have to ever worry about ammo. And a little fun fact is that you can just hold down the trigger. You don't actually have to like tap it each time, and this is how you can really feel a lot of the recoil. But for me, I usually just like to spam the trigger so I have a little bit more control. For the stock, again, actually for this one, I like to add the heavy stock always, because it increases the flinch resistance, so then it's a little bit easier to get that next burst off if you need to, because like you burst and it doesn't kill the enemy, there's going to be a little bit of a delay, so when the enemy's shooting at you, your screen is going to shake and you might miss the next burst, so then it just makes it a little bit easier to stay on target. And so again, personal preference, you guys can run balanced or the light, but for me, I really like the heavy. And then here's a screenshot of my favorite AAK 973 8 attachment build. Now for the last build on this video, this is going to be the ASVAL, one of, if not the fastest killing AR in the game. Very easy to use, not that much recoil. If you want the gun to be easier, make sure you use your left stick to strafe for round. That's just going to make it so you activate your rotational aim assist and just overall make it easier to stay on target. Now we are going to be using the suppressed reinforced barrel. All the ARs just got a pretty big nerf where they lowered the damage range and removed the headshot multiplier. This is going to make it so the weapon is a little bit stronger, and it's crazy, the XM4 has the worst damage range out of all the guns in the game. This is going to increase that to 28.1 meters. Now we are going to be doing 20 damage up 20 damage up to 28 meters, which is decent, not that good, but you know, it's only so much that we can do. And this weapon, you want to play pretty aggressive, use it like a medium range SMG. Then for the underbarrel, we are going to be using the vertical foregrip just to maximize that recoil control. For the magazine, we are going to be using the extended mag 2 to increase the ammo count. The fire rate is very fast. You're going to need to run a magazine basically at all times. This isn't really a personal preference, but I guess it kind of is. The base ammo count is 20, so yeah, personal preference, but I like the 40 round mag even if I'm playing like search and destroy. And then for the next attachment, since we are going to be playing very aggressive with the gun, we are going to be using the ergonomic grip to increase that slide to fire speed. And now that slide to fire speed is going to be 148 milliseconds, making it absolutely game changing. This is so buggy. I'm just trying not to rage right now. Next up though, to make it easy to hit your shots, we are going to be adding the recoil springs. This is going to add a lot of recoil control. It's going to add about 20% for the overall gun kick, making those iron sights usable, and 10% for the horizontal, and then 20% for the vertical, which is pretty helpful because we don't really have any vertical recoil control on the gun. You can't add a muzzle to this for that control, so to me it makes the gun so much easier to use at medium range, and I actually can kill the enemies faster with the recoil rather than rapid fire. rapid fire, yes, it's going to increase the rate of fire by 6%, therefore you kill the enemy 6% faster, but it has so many cons that you might miss some shots, therefore now it takes longer. The recoil, you're not going to really miss any shots, so then you can kill the enemies a little bit faster. And so this is my favorite ASVAL build in Black Ops 6. Now for the 8 attachment build, we are going to be going over to the stock. I like the no stock just because I'm using it like an SMG. I want to feel very fast. I'm not really ADS walking that much. I'm just sliding, jumping around the map. This is going to help me do so. Then we are not going to be adding a laser. I hope they buff the lasers, making them a little bit more valuable, but they don't really give me enough benefits that outweigh the cons of having everyone on the map see your laser. For the optic, I honestly really like the iron sights, but for this gun, there was an optic that I actually really like. This is going to be the Volhisky reflex. I said that wrong. AccuSpot, Kepler is still very good, but this one, this optic for some reason just feels so good on this gun, and so that's what I'm saying about personal preference. Really run whatever you want. But here's the screenshot for the 8 attachment ASVAL, and that is going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you did find it helpful. If you did, hit that like button, and deuces.